Section 8.3 should be mostly review for you all. It's just the area of squares and rectangles. So let's first look at a rectangle. Oftentimes you have heard the formula length times width. It could also be called base times height. I believe that's what your book calls it. But remember, these are all just variables. So as long as you're doing like length times width or base times height, you're fine. Okay, so area of a rectangle. Length times width is what I'm used to. So I'm going to say 5 times 3 if this is your length and this is your width. And so the area here would be 15. Now units on area are square units because we have centimeters times centimeters here. So we have centimeters squared. Okay, so area of a square. Now, if you recall, if we have a rectangle and we have a length times a width, remember a rectangle can be a square. So we could say that both of these are the same, length times length. So if we did the area here, we would have length times length, which would be length squared. So what they do for squares, instead of calling it length and width, they just call it S for a side, and the area is just S squared, so one side squared. So find the area of the, actually this should be a square. It is a rectangle, but more specifically a square. So we have area equals 7 squared. So area equals 49 feet squared. And if you know it's a square, you could put 7 and 7, and that's fine, length times width. But when you work backwards, you do need to know your formula. Example 3, find the dimensions of rectangles A and B, then find the area of the polygon made by the two rectangles. Okay, so rectangle A we know is 5 by something, okay? But we don't know this height right here. So what we need to do is we need to look at the fact that this height is 7 and this height is 2. So if this height is 7 and this height is 2, what does this height have to be? 5. So it turns out that this rectangle A has the dimensions 5 by 5. So the area of that rectangle is 5 times 5, or 5 squared, so 25. If we look at rectangle B, we know, so if you look at rectangle B, we see that the height is 7, and now what we have to find is this width here. And again, I'm kind of using some of these terms interchangeably, but just know that you need to know two sides of the rectangle. So, kind of like what we did last time, we know that this entire length is 9. We know that this is 5. So what does this have to be? If this is 9, this is 5, what does this have to be? 4, because then you have 4 plus 5 is 9 for that whole distance. Okay? So if we want to find the area of rectangle B, we are using the dimensions 7 and 4. So the area would be 7 times 4, or 28. Okay, so if we want to find the area of the entire polygon, all we're going to do is add the 28 and the 25 and get 53 units squared. So I don't know what units are on there specifically, but I'm just going to say units squared. Okay, you're now responsible for the checkpoint, and it looks like you just have 4 checkpoints here.